What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to Wrenching Wrecked. Day 2 on the Softail. So I was really excited I got everything back together last night, or yesterday morning before work. Not last night, but got home with a jerry can of gas ready to fire this thing up. Unfortunately, before I filled the tanks, hit the start button. Battery was draining, so this has been on a charger all night. Should be about there, ready to go. It's still on red, but I'll give that, I don't know, another half hour, 45 minutes, but I did pour fuel in. So we got fuel in. Story of my life, right? When you neglect your bikes that long, they start getting angry at you, and this is the end result. So I'll come over here. Keep in mind that this was fired up and running on the bottle. If you go back a couple videos while the tanks were off, let me set you guys down right here. Look what happens when I do this. Gas off right now. Let me turn the gas to on. Give it about 5 seconds. Pouring out the overflow. So for whatever reason, either the gas that I just poured in there sucked something through. I do not have a filter on this. That was my bad, and I think I mentioned that in the last video. Like I said, I probably should put a filter or something on here. I didn't, and now the float's sticking and the carb has to come off, and we just put the tanks back on. So I'm gonna rip this apart, maybe just time lapse it until everything's off. I don't remember how big of a pain that was underneath the tanks, so I gotta pull the horn and the engine mount. Oh. The carb support plate we just put on yesterday, and work backwards. So it's too early to fire this thing up anyway, so I'll let that battery stay on the charger a little bit longer and go from there. Let's get into it. It's about 5:30 in the morning right now, so no chance of starting this for at least another couple hours, and then hopefully by then, by startable, acceptable neighbor start time for a Friday morning, we can get this done, and then the rest of the day is going to be just kind of going through the trailer, loading up a bike and potentially the Strosic motor. Wall neck swap is on Sunday, the day after Motoblot, so I will be in the city all day tomorrow, roasting in the sun, vending at the booth. If anybody wants shirts, oh, I got new shirts. By the end of this video, I'll tag all the merch that we got, but we got 3 shirt designs. It's 4 JTS coatings, but they're kind of cool, like a wizard print, black with white image, if you will. I don't know how it's referred to in Shirtlandia, but let's get jamming on this, then spend the rest of the day. Hopefully this will fire up. I'm not taking this off the bench and riding it yet. We still got to do the clutch adjustment and stuff anyway, but if I can get this starting and running, I will feel a million times better, like a giant weight is lifted off my shoulder, because I have not forgotten about this bike, even though it kind of seems like I have. Then load up the trailer, get that prepped and parked over a second shop. So all I got to do is come back from Motoblot. I don't even have to unload the van, just back up, hitch the trailer, and go. Let's get into this.
Alarm goes off at 4:45. Roll out of bed, rub the sleep from my eyes. Throw on a shirt and some jeans and my boots, and then it's time to make that morning drive. Work all day till I'm totally beat. Get back home and fall right to sleep. Alarm goes off in the morning and the cycle's complete. Work, sleep, repeat. Yesterday I was 17, running bootlegs and draws and screens. Now I'm running up debt and I'm scrambling to make ends meet. So work, sleep, repeat. Yeah, work, sleep, that's all I ever do anymore. off again at 4:45. Roll out in bed, rub the sleep from my eyes. Throw on a shirt and some jeans and my boots, and then it's time to make that morning drive. Yeah, work, sleep, that's all I ever do anymore. Sleep. Somewhere up the line, I forgot what I was working for. And there goes life, looks like it's going down for me. All I ever do is work, sleep, repeat. All I ever do is work, sleep, repeat. All I ever do is work, sleep, repeat.
Okay, surprisingly that went a lot quicker than I expected. There is access to get to the carb if you have the right long reach socket extension. So I have big extension and a 5/16. If you come down here, you can kind of get to it on an angle if you got a ball end. This would not work if you had a straight Allen key. Hex socket wouldn't work because you're coming in on too far of an angle, or if you have a real shorty one on a swivel, you might be able to get to it, but there's really not a lot of room with these big tanks on there. But carb's off, I just drained it all over the floor, so that will dry up, hopefully. And at this point, I know we did go through and clean that carb a while back, but something's sticking, and I wasn't getting any squirts on the accelerator pump, so I pulled it all apart last time, and I don't think I put a new one in. I thought we just cleaned it up. I can't remember. It's probably back in the videos. You guys probably know better than I do if you've been following along with this Softail. But I do have another S&S carb over here on the bench. I thought that this one was good. I've got this one here that was on the bike. I have another one at my shop for a customer of mine that I rebuilt that he just hasn't picked up yet. It's the same guy that's got that FXR in my shop. So I have a carb that we rebuilt and put on the FXR. We have another S&S that we put on there. I don't remember if he gave me this one as a good one or this one as a go through and rebuild it. So I think what I'm gonna do right now, just because it's already off, I'm just gonna drop the bowl on this and kind of make sure all the passages are clear. We'll do that off camera because it's an S&S and they're tedious and they're kind of a pain. But let me clear out a little spot somewhere. Maybe I'll just use the lid of that box and we'll go through. I'll clean this up and then we'll come back when we're ready to put this one on. I think it's the same size brackets on both. Should be. If anything, this might actually be the right one that I need for this throttle cable setup. It's the longer throttle bracket. So let me go through this, clean it up. We'll be back in a bit. Okay, so I went through this, just blew it all apart. I didn't take the whole carb apart, but blew through the idle jet, blew through the main jet, and then tested the accelerator pump. That should all, in theory, be working. So right now I have the socket and bolt still on here on this side. So what we're gonna do is try and get this top one started first, because that's the hard one to get to. We got a couple threads on there, then we'll put the bottom one in, just make sure we're drawing it in straight. So we'll come to the other side. Oh. Come on, you. Oh. Come on. Really not a lot of room here. All right, so we at least got a couple threads going there. Come back over here. Just at least walk this in past the intake. Come on now. All right, so we're through the intake now. Really out of alignment. Hold on. We did something wrong. There we go. Now maybe I'll actually start with the bottom one. Are these flanges different? They can't be. It's S&S stuff, right? No. Well, that puts a damper on that plan. These are two different carbs. 1, 2. See the bolt spacing? This carb's too big. Bummer. All that work for nothing. Back to the drawing board. Time to take the leaky gas one apart. I'm glad I checked that. Thought I was going crazy. Two different carbs. They look about the same, but if you line up the top bolt, I'm about half an inch off. Good to know. I didn't even know they made different ones. That took way longer than anticipated, so I've been kind of flip-flopping all sorts of things. We're putting the original carb back on. Blew through it. We get no fuel as soon as that float engages, so that should be fixed now as far as I'm aware. Hopefully that won't stick on the overflow. I switched the fitting over to the bowl from the new carb. I had one accelerator pump screw on the carb that was stripped out, so figured I'd replace that while this is off. The only other thing I could change right now is the actual throttle bracket linkage, but I'm worried. I guess we could test that right now, huh? Let's see how this thing does on here. Because we're pretty much maxed out on the adjuster here. Let's see if I can get this to actually work. Which I think it should. And we'll just swap this upper bracket right now too. I don't see why not. Yeah, I think we're gonna switch that out. I don't know how well that showed up on camera, but here, I'll do it again down here. So I just max the adjuster all the way out, pull this up and slide it in. We got slack here, throttle's closed. This is the other carb anyway, but full range of motion. S&S's have a ton of different types of brackets for up top. Almost thought I was going to have to change my mind on that one. And I don't remember which ones are supposed to be for which. I thought the taller one is the one set up for S&S's. That's this guy right here, one screw. Just like that. Take that one out. There's a little hole on the top bracket for the pin that's on the carb. So that'll kind of hold that in place. Stops it from twisting on you, I'd rather. Then we'll finish putting the extra carb back together here in a little bit. But now we should be in good shape. What a pain in the butt. So let's start with the bottom one this time, since I know that we have the right carb. Come on. There we go. And we'll come up to the top. Really going blind here. Gonna lose the mic. Okay. Definitely going by hand here. You don't want to strip out the carb. You want to work them kind of even if you're doing it this way. Kind of a different story if you go the other route, but bottom snugged, top is engaged. Okay, now I'll put a wrench on here and snug this down. Top one's good. I know you can't see it, but take my word for it. Bottom one over here. There we go. Carb is back on. So now, while we're over on this side of the bike, we'll do the fuel line, throttle cable. Oh man, maybe I should have put the throttle cable on first. This bracket sits way taller. You guys see in there? I know it's kind of dark. Trying to get this into the housing first. There we go. Oh, this is such a pain now. We'll do it the other way. Might be easier to pull this up. There's just not a ton of room. So we got, you can see see this at all? I don't know. I put you here, you're in my way. Got the cable into the groove right there. Now, full throttle, and then drop it down. Perfect. I think that should be okay. Maybe. Almost seems a little tight. Can't tell if that's just drag or if I don't actually have any slack in this cable. Well, we'll try it. Worst case. Uh-oh. Something got stuck. There we go. We'll try it there. If I need to adjust that, well, shit, that means the car's got to come off again. I think it should be okay. We'll see. Got a little bit of play on here. Not a ton. Oh yeah, we're good. I just bent the bracket over a little bit. I can feel the play up here. Definitely some slack in the cable. Slide's not moving, or butterfly's not moving. So we should be good there. So that's good. Now all we gotta do is hook up the fuel line, which should hopefully still slide right back on. At which point would be a great time to add a fuel filter so I don't have to do this again. But I'm done. Carb, fuel line. And then I'm going to turn the gas on before we get too much further here, since we just changed all sorts of things. Alright, so we have throttle, we have carb hooked up, we have gas on. Hopefully we get accelerator pump here pretty soon. Oh, I heard a noise. Oh, look at that. Hopefully that shows up on camera. Gets dark when that brass butterfly goes away, but we got a nice, fully functional accelerator pump, better than it ever has been, so that's a plus. No leaks out of the overflow yet. We'll let that sit for a couple minutes, just kind of keep an eye on it. But we didn't have an accelerator pump before, which tells me something was messed up on the bowl. I don't know if it was pulling air in because one of those screws is stripped out, or if that accelerator pump in there is just dead. Doesn't really matter. We have it solved for now. Throttle seems to be returning, so I think we're not leaking anywhere. So I think we're just gonna start jamming on this thing. Let's get a couple of these back in while I'm here with the screwdriver. So I'm gonna throw this on first before I put the breathers on. Not all the way, but just enough to hold. It's kind of as a guide, if you will. Then we'll go breather. So we get choke, breather bolt, breather, and real fancy hardware store shims. these laid out on both sides. So bolt breather. Ooh, almost had that backwards. There is a machined intersection that this will slide in. So you want to make sure that's facing the front, or facing out. I'm just going to drop these breathers facing out, and if I need to do some sort of line on there, we can. Now the real question is, where did I put my tools? Oh, story of my life. Oh, right in front of me. Thanks a lot, guys. Way to let me know. It's right on the table in front of me. Way to go, internet. Just kidding. I know it doesn't really make sense putting the breathers here that way, but for right now in my head it does. I can pinch a little hose on there and connect them or loop them or jam them into the air cleaner or something. All right. I actually don't know if this one has provisions for a return. Oh yeah, it does. I just don't have that crossover. There's like a hose with fitting on each side that goes on the breathers, and then there's a nipple on the back of this right here. That's your throughway back into the carb. We don't have that. So now we have working choke, we have working throttle, loud squirting, nice spraying accelerator pump. So we should be good. I think we're ready to fire it, but I feel like it might still be too early in the morning. Let's go check. Oh, where's my phone? I don't even know where I put anything. Interesting. Did I not even bring it out here? That's what happens when you don't wear watches, I guess. All right, let me go figure out where that is, check the time. I think it's too early. My neighbor just left. I heard him drive away, so it's probably about 6:37, somewhere around there. Too early to start up a bike. All right, I did leave my phone inside. That's how much I care about that thing. But I checked the time. We are at, like I said, 6:37, 6:53. Too early to fire up a bike, but I'm pretty confident. The only other things I did, I just wanted to double check for spark. So I pulled the plugs or plug wires. I don't know if you guys noticed that in the beginning of the video, but these have just been dangling here. And then I gotta just hook the horn back up. And then onto the Bose thing. I know I heard a couple different things. This is one of the clips that went in here, I assume, at some point. I'm just leaving this looped and disconnected for now. I know we kind of mentioned it, and there's a couple things back and forth in the comment section on how to address that or what to do with it. I do have a new unit that I forgot to grab from, I think it's been sitting in the floor of the Falcon forever. So let me just throw the horn back on. And that pretty much concludes this. Just gonna let that wire dangle there. I don't think it should affect starting and running. Just where the vacuum is. I'm pretty sure both of those wires are busted, so if you know for sure, please let me know. I'm not exactly sure how that plays out. I understand the system itself, but I'm not exactly sure on how that functions. There's, what? You have one ground, and then the other one goes to the signal in that switch. So I'm guessing it's based on air speed or something. I don't really know. But the switch itself is on the outside. It's not in the air cleaner or anything, but it is wired into the circuit. So I'm assuming under, I don't know. If somebody wants to explain that to me better, that'd be great. But it looks like a single fire ignition to me. If we need to start messing with the Vose switch, we can. But we'll see how it goes as is. And we'll just wait for it to start. Oh, and then remember the battery charger? I said it would be like another hour or so. We're green, so we got a full battery. super accurate measurement, green or red LED. But that should be plenty to crank, plenty to fire. So a couple hours, we'll be back out here firing this thing up, hopefully. We're back up in the air. While we're waiting for everybody to wake up, I think what we're gonna do is go ahead and pop this inspection cover and get that clutch adjusted. Because I said there's no real reason to get this off the lift until we're done. Starting running is one thing, but why don't we get it starting running and driving today? Ooh, should probably throw that regulator back in, huh? I don't know why I took that out. Good thing I put it up in the air and looked at that. Got dangling wires over here for the... Oh, clutch cable. Duh. What else did I forget now? Now I'm nervous. Should find out pretty quick. Alright. Inspection cover is off. Also functions as a wonderful parts tray. So we'll put that there. And please come off, please come off, please come off, please come off. I do not have a new one of these, so please be nice to me. Ooh, way more oil than I expected. I didn't think there would be that much coming out of there. Is that normal on an Evo or is that overfilled? You guys tell me. I know on a shovel there's not much that comes out of there. There's a whole lot of oil in there. Might have to look up a book spec on that. So we'll just let this drain. I mean, crap, that's way up there. Overfilled? I think it is, but what do I know? Not much about these. All right, well, we'll let that drain down until it decides to stop leaking. Seems like that's way too much oil. I always thought you just wanted to splash, but I don't know, on Evo designs, maybe that actually is a full primary. And then I'm assuming this is our clutch adjuster. What size are you? Now that's broken free. As for the clutch, does this go in? I think it does. Okay, so if I'm way wrong on this, yell at me in the comments section, but as far as I'm aware for the clutch adjustments, typically, got my lever floating up here. If I back this out, I lose tension, so it's kind of just like a regular shovelhead clutch assembly at least. On a Sportster, I feel like it was opposite on the Evo, if I remember correctly, but it could be wrong. But if I thread this in, it starts pushing the lever out, so that's pushing that push rod in. We'll go till it's snug, not tight, but till I feel resistance right there. Feel resistance, and a quarter turn back, and that's where we're gonna lock this jam nut down. And ideally you wanna use a wrench to hold that there, but so that should be locked down. So now I have clutch movement, and then I'll take up the rest of the slack with the cable adjustment. Because right now the cable is completely in. Unfortunately, now I gotta run back and forth to the other side of the bike. Feels good. A little bit of play, we can probably go another half turn there. Then you tighten up your jam nut on there. That should hold it in place. I'll throw wrenches on that after and leave that up in case we do need to adjust anything. I got some wiggle room in the clutch lever. Clutch feels good. In gear, clutch in. Ooh, no. Not enough. Maybe I gotta go farther in. Should be disengaged. All right, we'll go back on this. Let me go over to the other side real quick. These plates could very easily be stuck from sitting too. It's been sitting since at least 4/19. I mean, I've had this running, but I've never actually ridden it. So, running but not riding. I'm guessing those plates are probably a little stuck. All right, there's resistance. If I go past that, it actually starts pushing this diaphragm. I don't know if you can see that. We don't want that. Tight. Half a turn. Should really check a spec on that. This is the problem. You know just enough to get yourself into trouble without actually knowing what you're doing. So now, we'll back this out and get our lever tension back. Do that from over here, actually. Ooh, the vertical view. So we got tons of slop up here, but if we adjust this out, get in there. There's a lot of play in that upper bushing too. Tighten your jam nut. It's pushing in and pushing out. I'm guessing those plates might just be a little stuck, so we'll shake that down on the actual test ride. And while I'm over here, I'm just going to plug the alternator wires back in before I forget. So those are back in. It's starting to free up. I know it's turning the motor over right now too, but... So that's with the clutch in. We are in a higher gear. Here's clutch out. Clutch in. Come on. Still turning the motor over, but a little bit of motor resistance, then I can actually spin it. This is not turning the motor over now. And now I'm back to locked. Real short neutral. Second. All right, so we'll keep that in mind. On the test ride, there's a very good chance this might just take off on me and I'll have to kill it. I'm willing to test ride that. And then oil-wise, on the Derby, now it's back to that bottom line, which I thought is about as high as you want to go. But that should do it. Now I just gotta wait. We'll be back when it's an appropriate time to fire this thing up. All right, well, I just finished editing the first half of this video. It's a long one. Hope you guys stick around for this part, because this is what everybody wants to see, right? Thought about making two, but I think I'm just gonna wrap this one up and have this bike done. So we are pretty much ready to fire this up. I'm gonna lower the lift back down. I gotta move this oil tray, because that would be a very bad day. So we'll pull that off, I'll drain that, and then we should be about ready to start. It is now 9:24. That's late enough in the day for me, so. Ooh, battery's gonna die. Let me swap the battery real quick and then we'll drop this down. We'll come back once this is lowered and cleaned up a little bit. So fresh battery in the GoPro, so hopefully you guys stay alive now. And we should be about good. So I have the battery charger disconnected. Most of the tools cleared off of the bench. Gas on. I think this should be about it. Wheels off enough to clear. Double check the accelerator pump. We're getting good squirts there. Choke on. Key on. Open the back garage door real quick too. Here goes nothing on the bench. We are still in neutral. Everything should just work, I think. One squirt for good luck. Okay, so it's definitely not happy. Turning the mixture screw, I don't know if that's a Vose thing issue now, but this idle mix screw is pretty stuck in there. I don't think it's the throttle cable, but maybe I'll pop that off real quick just to make sure it's completely disconnected. I don't have, this is a really crappy design. It's got a Phillips head in here for the idle screw, speed screw. And with these tanks on here, I'm having a real hard time trying to get to this. Let's see if I can get a flathead in there and just get it quarter turn out, maybe. I almost need like a 90 degree. I don't like that one bit. What can I do here? Do I have any? I didn't anticipate that being an issue. Let's see if I got a real long, skinny flathead that'll fit in there. I don't know why you put the gas tanks in the way of the carb adjustment. What's the longest, skinniest screwdriver I got? Such a pain. Ugh, that does not feel good. Let's try it again. It's a little better. That's all the way in on the mixer. Listen to it, it's revving up. Okay. So that's loud and obnoxious, but it definitely sounds like we got some air leaks to address on those intakes, unfortunately. It starts, it kind of idles. That idle screw is really janky, so I'm going to pull that carb off one more time now that everything's nice and hot. I don't know if I'm fighting ignition issues, but I'm not even going to worry about that until I can get those air leaks sorted out, because spraying some brake clean, it's way worse when I come at it this way. Revs up, pops around like crazy if I spray it this way, but I don't know if that's overspraying into the carb. So I want to double check that. We're going to start there now that everything is steaming hot. We'll start there, and then the issue on this stupid idle screw, it's a Phillips head, but it's behind this choke plate, so maybe I'll yank that choke plate off real quick and get myself a little bit more room here for some carb adjustments, and then we'll tighten those down finally. But she's coughing and popping a little bit more than I would like it to. But that's the end of this video. Part 2, we'll be going through and kind of retuning and adjusting and fixing all of the stuff that's broken on there, because this is getting long. So thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. We'll be jamming away on this. I'm going to keep working on this now, but just to put it on your radar, next video we'll be kind of pulling this apart and readjusting. So we'll catch you guys on the next one.